All right, hello there. Yes, I am in a tree. Don't worry about the tree. So, as the title says, today we're going to be talking about Starfield and its lack of content so far this year, and kind of talk about what we do know. I try not to speculate when it comes to like these sort of videos because speculation, while cool, having some hopium, as they say in the gaming world, it's not always a good thing to kind of just kind of assume things are going to occur when they don't. So just for clarity, it's been a little over what, like 8 months since we got the Shattered Space expansion. It came out the start of October, end of September. Really good expansion in my opinion. We did get a minor update in December, so the update didn't really change too much. It was kind of just, I think it was just bug fixes. So effectively, excuse me. Effectively, we're content barren since October, and that's not good. Bethesda have been radio silent, but there is some bits we can kind of gather from various sources. So one of the first things, and I've talked about this before, the Steam database for Starfield, or the Steam database in general, is a kind of it's where game developers kind of update the build versions of their games. Usually, when you see an update to the database, it means that there is something changing with the base game. Usually, an update could be bug fix, could be a content update, could be an expansion. There has been a lot of change. Some of the first big changes came probably around the start of January, which, that alone is a big thing because that tells us that there is something. Bethesda are clearly working on something. Now, the radio silence obviously doesn't help. They've said very little. In fact, the only thing they've really mentioned on their Twitter and social media has been about competitions. There was a competition where you could see a spaceship launch from, I think, Cape Canaveral. I think that's the place. Which cool, but doesn't have anything to do with the base game. No content, no whatever. So it was kind of like, okay, Bethesda. Now, obviously, Bethesda have never really been that kind of company to do roadmaps necessarily. They briefly forayed into roadmaps with Fallout 76, primarily because of some of the issues Fallout 76 had. But with, I think Steel Rain was the first one, they realized that they couldn't really kind of keep up with the time frame. So for the most part, they've just kind of stepped away from it. Now, this isn't unique to just Bethesda. A lot of game companies have opted away from the kind of the roadmaps. Some still do roadmaps, but instead of kind of giving you okay, we're going to try and do this in, spring, this in summer, this in autumn, a lot of the time they will just say, we're going to try do this in 2025, this in 2026. And even with trailers and stuff, like prior to the ESO 6 trailer, which was 7 years ago, Bethesda have always been this sort of company where they'll drop a trailer not too long before the game launches. Like, I want to say Fallout 4's trailer dropped around June, and then the game launched in, I want to say, September, I think. So it's not unusual for Bethesda to be radio silent. Now, that being said, in this day and age, they've kind of proven, gaming in general has kind of proven that communication is good. Fans like and prefer communication. Now, not all developers actually care about the communication. Now, another big change that came out semi-recently, we'll let that ship land first, was the creation kit got a very big update that basically it improved the lip sync. Lip sync was added, I think, around Shattered Space, but there's been improvements to it. There was a slew of new features. I think you could make custom children in the game now, which prior to that I don't think you could. I think there's new animations. Again, there's a lot of stuff. I looked up the list, and to be honest, a lot of it was kind of above my head, above my pay grade. But from talking to a few of the mod authors I've been chatting with, it's been pretty substantial, which is good. Now, that doesn't directly let you know that, let's say, for instance, that anything to do with the base game, not directly, but the idea that the creation kit is getting an update usually means that, okay, Bethesda has clearly been doing some new stuff with assumably the latest update or content feature that will be coming out at some point, and they're basically giving mod authors the ability to kind of do similar. um Obviously, this, you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt because we don't know that for sure. It's presumed, but yeah. Now, the biggest one of the news recently was, to be honest, I missed it completely. um it was around the middle of January. Phil Spencer went on, I think was it IGN? He went on a kind of a podcast, kind of interview style thing, and the interviewer asked him about Starfield and games in particular, but Starfield was kind of the focus. And will Starfield, in essence, they asked, will Starfield always stay on Xbox for the foreseeable future? And Phil Spencer said, or sorry, not Xbox, like on Xbox and PC. And Phil Spencer said no. Um, he said that he doesn't see it from a business point of view being that way anymore, of keeping games kind of, I think, as he said, like fenced in. Now, we've known for kind of months, there's been leaks and rumors about games going to Xbox games going to PlayStation. I believe Forza has been confirmed, and with this news, basically Phil Spencer has confirmed, yes, Starfield is going to be going to PlayStation. Now, when, we don't know, but he says in the interview that it's going to be soon. We don't know what soon means. Realistically, I would assume around summer. Now, with this news, this kind of, you can, again, we're using a bit of speculation here. I know I say I don't like to speculate, but part of the reason behind Bethesda's kind of quietness is probably because they're getting ready to launch on PlayStation, and they're probably going to do a content update alongside that for everyone to kind of, as a kind of like a hooray towards it. Like we've seen it in the past with other games when games kind of launch on, like, when they kind of launch on other platforms and stuff. The game developer likes to kind of do a kind of a big update just to kind of, for if you're on Xbox, because moving to PlayStation as an Xbox player, that's not really, it's a big deal, I suppose, but not to the individual Xbox players and the PC players. Now, obviously, if and when Starfield comes to PlayStation, it's going to be a massive boon, because I hate to say it, I'm an Xbox fanboy, but PlayStation has, I think, 5 times the numbers of players as Xbox. So that's a massive boon for Starfield. I think the console wars, which have been a long fought. It was hard fought, the console wars. I remember being a just post pubescent teenager, fighting the good fight, I thought, at the time, of being like, yeah, Sony sucks, which I still think Sony's kind of questionable, but I used to always be like, no, PlayStation sucks. As I got older, I realized how immature I was, and ultimately people can play what they want to play. And I think that games should, like, ultimately, consoles should be like phones. You get the same stuff on them, it's just the software and the UI and stuff that you like. I've always been a fan of Xbox. I've looked at PlayStation, and obviously I'm going to be biased because I played Xbox a lot, but I used to like play on my cousin, or my nephews and my cousins and stuff, and like their PlayStation stuff. And I always found the UI kind of weird, personally. That's just me, just because, yeah. Um, Now, obviously, regarding PlayStation, there's some questions that arise, because one of the first things is regarding modding. As we know, if you've played Skyrim or Fallout, modding on PlayStation was a kind of a tricky one, because Sony pretty much limited the use of scripting, I believe, and any external assets. Now, we don't know currently if that's going to change. This is where, again, Crimson is going to speculate. Just going by the fact that Todd Howard has been very much pro-modding from the beginning of his career at Bethesda. Like, they brought mods to console, God, Howard, thank you very much. But I feel like there's probably, realistically, I don't see there being the same limitations with modding on PlayStation as there was with previous Bethesda titles. Now, what does that mean? Well, worst case scenario, normal mods might have some restrictions. However, paid mods probably will not, which means that any paid mod that adds some really cool features on Xbox or PC, you're still going to see it on PlayStation. Best case scenario, like I was saying, and what I'm hoping is that the big wigs at Xbox and Bethesda were kind of like, all right, Sony, we'll give you Starfield. Oh, whoops, what did I just do? We'll give you Starfield and all these other things, but you have to have modding. It has to be on par with Xbox and PC, at least the creations. Now that being said, I was talking about this on stream, and my girlfriend brought up a very good point about the Starfield situation, and we currently we've been radio silent. We've heard nothing from Bethesda for months. The PlayStation launch, when it comes, is going to be big, but what happens after? We know that there's an expansion in the works with Starfield. We know that they patented or they trademarked the term Starborn, which means that, again, I know I said no speculation, but if you were to speculate, we're assuming the next expansion, which Todd said has been made, or they're not made. Todd said that they're already working on around the time of Shattered Space launching, that it's assuming it's going to be Starborn related. But after that, we don't really know. Bethesda were really good with their updates. Apologies if I move a lot. Bethesda were really good with their initial updates. We got the tracker quests, we got mods, we got the rovers and stuff. And they've been really good with it, but the window between Shattered Space and now obviously is not a good look. If we take into account what I was saying about them prepping for PlayStation, fair enough, we can kind of cut them some slack. But I feel like after, hopefully with the launch of PlayStation, or with the launch of the next update, which I do hope is soon, we will get some sort of a roadmap. Like, realistically, I would like to say we'll hopefully get an update, a content update in the next month or two. Realistically, though, PlayStation will probably launch around summer, one of the E3 style events. I know they don't do E3 anymore, but they usually have their kind of, Xbox has their developer thing. I could definitely see that being the case, which if that is the case, the expansion is going to be, supposedly it's going to be coming out the same time as Shattered Space. Now, that's quite problematic because there's a lot of big games coming out around kind of December, November. And I think tactically, Bethesda hopefully will realize that Starfield, obviously it didn't get as much draw as like their previous titles. And, developers, one thing developers try not to do is they try not to launch their game and updates and, content. Or not updates, but they try not to add paid content or launches alongside other similar games or just large scale games in general. So that being said, maybe we might get, again, this is me completely speculating, we might get the expansion news early. It would be really cool if, like I said, if there was an update, we got an update maybe this month, next month, and then an E3 event with Xbox where maybe PlayStation's head comes out and Todd Howard is like, Starfield is now live on PlayStation, but that's not all. The expansion's going live this week. Obviously, this is just me, again, speculating. Yeah. That's pretty much it. Starfield obviously is intended to be a 10-year game, and we're currently in year 3. There's been some obviously a lot of positive updates, but there's still some negativity surrounding the game. Some of it's legitimate, a lot of it's just bullshit these days. But I think one of the legitimate concerns now is that because Starfield hasn't gotten as much, it hasn't made as much as they would have liked, it hasn't garnered as much attention as, let's say, Skyrim or Fallout 4. there's a lot of kind of speculation of Bethesda just kind of cutting, you know, like make the next update and then just move on. Now, I don't think that's the case because if we look at 76, a game that I hold dear, but realistically, if any game was to eventually be like, look, we're done, it would have been that game. It's been fraught with problems. It's now a very fun game. They've added a lot in and they keep adding more stuff. Like the fact that 76 exists to this day makes me very hopeful and almost confident that Bethesda isn't going anywhere with Starfield. And Starfield is in a very unique position. Um, the shipbuilder is phenomenal, and I think it's the reason a lot of people play. And if Bethesda in the next couple of updates and expansion can nail down some of the other stuff, like kind of tone down the procedural generation, kind of fix some of the exploration to make it more in line, because Shattered Space is exploration, kind of having the planet very dense. All of the locations made it feel like you're playing an actual Elder Scrolls game. You know, you weren't jumping from planet to planet, you were just walking around. But yeah, that's pretty much it. As always, let me know what you guys think. If you're still playing Starfield, let me know what you're doing to bide your time. If you're not playing Starfield, like, let me know why. Like, have you lost interest? Are you waiting for the next update? I know a lot of people are kind of waiting. I've personally heard from a few people recently that they're basically holding out until Bethesda give us some news. And that being said, with it basically confirmed that it's coming to PlayStation, like, how do you feel about that? I know a lot of people who currently play Starfield on, like, let's say they don't have an Xbox, so they tend to play on their kind of PCs and stuff, but they would much rather play it on their or their, you know, on their console. They have, but they can't. Which, yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, that's pretty much it. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and catch you in the next one. Bye bye.